What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming.
Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Midday Monologue Monday. I do an episode of this every Monday. I've been doing this every Monday for 5-6 years regularly. So we have a pretty long track record here. We do a video every day of the week, sometimes multiples. But we do have a minimum of between 10 and 11 videos that drop every single week with no sponsors, no backers, no patrons. It's just us here having fun because it is fun to play games, talk about games, film games. And I think it's really fun editing videos as well. So here we are. I want to talk to you today about two things that I absolutely love. And that's Marvel comic books and Star Wars. I mean, the two of the earlier nerd passions that I've always had. I can go back as far as I can remember, and there's always some version of, well, at least until going back to 1977. There's some version of Star Wars in it, definitely. And superheroes and specifically Marvel comic characters, I can't remember how long it's been since I've been aware of their existence and been interested by them and their exploits, their adventures. So now, Fantasy Flight Games has a license for Star Wars. They have some great Star Wars games out there. Me and the 20-Sided Warriors have recently been tearing it up with Outer Rim. We love that. In the past, we've torn through Imperial Assault. These are great games by Fantasy Flight Games with the Star Wars title, with the IP. But they also, as you can see right there, we got Marvel Champions, the card game, which is a combat card game between the superheroes and the supervillains of the Marvel Universe. And there are currently 7 big box expansions. Each expansion has a scenario expansion. Each expansion has between 4 to 6 hero packs that have been released with it. I'm not sure exactly how much stuff that they've come out with, but it is so successful of a title that they have very little reason to stop printing it. There's so much more demand. I mean, personally, I'm hoping that Fantastic Four will be the next big box expansion. Hoping for that. But in the meantime, why hasn't Fantasy Flight Games joined these two money-making ideas? Has no one there thought of it? Hey, Fantasy Flight Games, if no one has thought of this, you need to hire me. I'm only half kidding there. Seriously, no one there has thought to combine the Marvel Champions concept, IP game, skin with, well, more than the skin, with the mechanics, with the skin of Star Wars? You're telling me we have no Star Wars Champions, the card game, out now? Or from what I've looked up, nowhere in the future. No one has even spoken about this. No one has publicly had this idea and expressed it. This seems like you're missing a great thing to tap into here. I mean, let's just think about it in my order because of my age category, which may be the biggest spending category you have out there. I'm not sure, but yeah. So let's look at it for me. I cut my teeth on the OG. I remember Star Wars when it was released in the theaters before it was Star Wars A New Hope. It was just episode 4. I remember the unedited version, Han shot first. I was there for all of it. I saw it that summer in the theaters. So, let's start there. So if we came out with, saying we like I'm already working for them. So if there was a Star Wars Champions or Star Wars Heroes card game, then let's start with A New Hope. So the Marvel core box has 3 scenarios in it, and it has five heroes to start with, 3 male and 2 female. So that makes it up a little bit. Well, we're gonna have to try to do that the same way, right? Let's follow that pattern. So, of course, what I'm thinking of is, Han, Chewie, Luke, Leia. Now, next you would think I was going to say Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan, but no, I don't think Obi-Wan should be a playable character because he's dead. He dies in the first movie, tragically, but for a very specific reason in the story, the death of the mentor, which is part of the hero's journey that George Lucas so passionately followed while scripting and plotting a Star Wars A New Hope. So I don't think he should be a card set. Unless they set up some rules where he can only be used in game scenarios that are set from this time period to that time period. Other Star Wars games in the past, particularly RPGs, have followed lineups of the time period of Star Wars. So certain things are allowed in one time period, certain things aren't. That may be. Maybe you could go that route. But no, instead, let's try to put someone else in there. And honestly, the original Star Wars movie is really lacking any female energy, any female actresses, any female, for lack of a better term, and no pun intended, lack of a female force in the movie. Now, I'm not saying this to jump on any bandwagons or to be woke or anything. This is just common sense. It's just something anyone can see with their eyes. So now, when you're trying to put as much equality into a game as possible to make sure everyone feels attracted to it, and that's why you're adding as many of the mixed the sexes into the game as possible for playable characters. Like I get that. But Star Wars doesn't give us a lot of things to choose from. So maybe the fifth character, Mon Mothma. I know in the first movie she didn't really have any rules. Was that her giving out the medals? I always thought that was her giving out the medals. In Redcon we could say it was, if I'm wrong. So I don't know. Maybe Mon Mothma for a fifth? For the scenarios, this thing here, that thing there, does have 3 Rhino, Claw, and Ultron. Kind of build up easier, mid-grade, and tough levels. We're getting everyone used to the game, gives it a little bit of a learning curve. So if you keep that up, then, and if you're going the route of A New Hope again, right, keeping that concept going, then maybe sand people, stormtroopers, in town, right? In Tatooine, in Masis League town, and then finally TIE fighters, maybe a squad of TIE fighters that you have to get through while you're piloting the ship. Now, this is another aspect that I think could be interesting in this game. Is you're gonna have to add something for the Force, and I think you should add something for Starship Combat, almost like there should be an extra deck, a separate deck that you have for specifically combat, or maybe the cards. This is a better idea. I really do love it when board games that utilize cards or flat out card games, the cards have multiple uses written right on them, depending on what you're using it for in the game. It'll have maybe the effect on the top corner, maybe have the effect that's written in the card, maybe the note on the bottom, right? You know what I'm talking about. So maybe something like that to set up some cards could be specifically for space combat. And then there should be some sort of force point system in this. I don't know if you use a little slider. I love pegs. I love pegs, like Battleship and the old Dark Tower game. But yeah, something to add in pegs that if you're a Force user, you can manipulate cards or something. I was going to say dice roll, but there's no dice in a card game. So maybe something like that. But yeah, you would have to add something to it because it couldn't be Star Wars without space combat and the Force. Now, hero packs, right? Oh, scenario packs and hero packs. So if it comes out with a few hero packs, let's again, for the first movie, there's not a lot of characters to draw from. Wedge Antilles. Okay, we have Wedge in there. Hey, he survived all the movies. You have Wedge in there. You have R2-D2, C-3PO. I'm sure some clever things can be thought for a C-3PO deck. that he can do. I mean, they're great at drawing fire and never getting hit. Robots when they're crossing the field of combat, right? The droids. Dr. Alpha. Not Dr. Afra, not Alpha. Dr. Afra. So I don't know much about this character. The Ryman and AJ really filled me in since we've been playing a lot of Outer Rim on this character. And so since her first appearance in the timeline does seem to be around the destruction of Alderaan, sure, put her in. Put her in as a character too in this. To add in a little extra of the, female force to your game. And then for the first scenario pack, if the core game is Sand People, Stormtroopers, and TIE Fighters, then I think the scenario pack is going to have to be the Death Star and Darth Vader. I mean, there's no scene in the first movie where Darth Vader and the heroes interact except for that escape scene in the Death Star. I'm not talking about the space combat at the end destroying the Death Star. I mean face to face, right? That's the only time they all encounter Darth Vader. So there's not a lot of opportunity to just throw him in willy-nilly for no reason. But if you make the scenario pack the escape from the Death Star, then you have a good reason to have him in there. So that's what I'm thinking. I think that could work. And then, the next two scenario packs, the next two expansion packs, big box expansion packs after that, would cover, could easily cover Hoth and Return of the Jedi, with the scenario packs adding in on that, adding in some new heroes and the villains that you're going to be facing in it, the bad guys, the dark siders, the Imperials. I think this could be fun. I think it would make some money. I think they can do it right because they've done this right and they've done everything else Star Wars right. So come on. Am I crazy here? Or should there be a Star Wars Heroes, the card game, based on Marvel Champions, the card game? Come on. Let's get this done. I'd spend a lot of money on it. Thank you for joining me. I'm your buddy Big John at G, the Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.